If you're anybody else who hasn't let me know that you're brand new tonight on this call, I want to give you a big hearty welcome. Thanks for joining us. For our existing members, glad you're here, as always. It's always good to have you on the call, and we're glad you're with us. Okay, this is Mark Hamilton and Family and You, so I'll get to it in a minute, but before I do, let me bring up Charlie Moore. Charlie Moore is a life coach. He works with us on coaching various programs, and he runs his own programs. So, Charlie, how are you tonight?
Doing great, Steve, and you?
Terrific. It's Friday night.
Friday night.
I don't want to say it's happy hour, but it's somewhere it's happy hour, and everybody doesn't have to be about drinking. It can be about just feeling good. You know, yeah. I think it's a mistake, especially a lot of us who don't really drink. You know, happy hour, you can still be happy. You can still be in a good place, and it doesn't mean you have to have alcohol either, you know? But you're in a happy hour here, so glad you're with us because it is Mark Hamilton's work. And I love having this meeting on Friday night because it's just a great way to start the weekend. I'm energized for the weekend. So thanks for being with us. Okay, a few things. Tonight we're going to restart the book, Mark Hamilton, Family and You. Many of you have come in when we were in the middle of the book. We were doing a lot of Mark's mother, Tracy Alexander. We did a lot with Mark's father, Dr. Frank R. Wallace. We worked with his brother, Eric Savage. We worked with his children. We also addressed, at one point I did some of the testimonials. Remember, this call has been on over a year. So if you're new to the program, you are coming in the middle, but I decided after last week's call, because we were doing the 114 advantages, that we would start from scratch. We'd start with luck tonight and really dig into it. So we're going to start at square one, and we're going to go forward from that. So we're going to spend a few weeks with Mark Hamilton, and I think that's pretty appropriate. However, I got a phone call this week, and I get lots of phone calls. As you all know, the news and updates call has been canceled. There is no more news and updates call. So it's like, how do I get information? How do I find out? Well, that's a good question. I think it's a very good question. I'm going to give news and updates info on this call. We don't have to do this every week, but let me get your pen and paper, and let me give you the free calls that are still available. Remember, many of the free calls have been eliminated. Now, there's a new program coming up in a few months, and they're preparing for that, so they've eliminated things. So let me give you the calls that are available.
I'm not going to let you hear this, so I'm going to block it out. This is Big V, by the way, so I'll be right back. I have not forgot about you guys. This is Big V, and they're doing giving some phone numbers out to the calls that are available. So I'll be right with you. All right, I'm going to take the camera and we're going to go out to the main area. So this is Big V, and this is the Friday night call on this rainy Friday day. It's been raining all day here in Portland. Really misting, really hard, and showers left and right, very gray and kind of foggy out here in Portland, Oregon. And so we're going to go back to the call now to Mr. Steve Fagan. So here you go.
And again, remember, there's no news and updates calls, so you're going to have to rely on these calls and others to give you some updates. When there's something new, I'll let you know. All righty? Good. Charlie, anything you want to add?
No. Nope.
Nope. Okay, cool. All right, let's go to work. I'm going to add one piece to this, which we're going to do is go back to last 2 weeks, when we talked about the child of the past, but I'm going to do that after I do an intro. You've all wanted to know what page we're on. You're on page 14 we're starting with, and then we're going to go back to page 1. This particular chapter or section is called Work on Self-Improvement. I'm expecting to stay a half hour on this, so be ready. This one is huge. I would like you to please make a note. It's in the very beginning of the book where it says Opening Eyes. And if you look at Mark Hamilton's index, we're working on My Secret, How to Get Lucky, and I'm in that particular area. And actually this particular one, just so you know what I'm working with, we go through the book and we double check, is actually, it says book 2 or chapter 2, My Story, Opening Eyes. So you need to go to that section, which is the second chapter, and you need to go to page 14 of the second chapter. All right, there's chapter 1, which we're going to go back to, and then there's chapter 2. Look at your index. It gives you that information. Okay? Now remember, I just mentioned earlier, Mark Hamilton, for the new members, this book consists of the writings of Mark Hamilton, the writings of his father, Frank R. Wallace, the writings of his mother, Tracy Alexander, the writings of his brother, Eric Savage, the writings of his children, and the writings of us. We have testimonials in here. So it's quite a valuable program. Now, I'm going to carefully go through this particular section, and we're going to dig into all the words and the terms. Please have a pen and paper. You will want to take notes. Halfway through the call, I'll give you the playback information, okay? But right now, I want you to focus and listen to what I have to say and make notes, because this is important. This is a key of Neothink, and it's called Works on Self-Improvement via Mark Hamilton. He says the following: I link our personal limitations to man's widespread residual follower mode mentality still lingering from bicameral man, a deep-rooted primitive mentality that is in a following mode. All right, let's stop. What do we know before consciousness? Before we reach the conscious mentality, what do we know, and what is our roots? Yours and mine as human beings. We know that we've evolved as human beings. We evolved from the mammals, we evolved from the apes, that world, and we've moved forward. And therefore, in an ape and mammal world, we've been in a bicameral primitive mentality. And that's the term I want you to put down, bicameral primitive. Due to the understanding of survival, this is important, due to the understanding of survival, man versus mammal was able to dig into his conscious mode or create his conscious mentality using his brain power and understanding that he could make choices. However, man did not just get there. Major key word for all of you as neo-thinkers is the word evolve. Put that down on your notes in big, big letters. Evolve. You're going to evolve from a primitive, and you are evolving from a primitive to a conscious human being. Mammals, other animals cannot do that. Just us. And that's a big difference from us and the mammals. But we did start as primitive bicameral beings. And unfortunately, we have stayed tied to that bicameral process, and because of guidance, religion, politics, etc., we still are being drawn back to that horrific world. Follower, bobblehead, primitive world. Mark wants you and I to know that that was our starting point as a beings, not directly, but what's the word? We've evolved. We've evolved to other levels. And everybody use that word evolve. That's the term you're going to use, or the adjective, or the verb that we're using. It's the verb, actually. Okay. A deep-rooted primitive mentality that follows external commands as opposed to internal integrating knowledge to lead oneself. We come to neothink as followers. I don't care if you said, I know all this stuff, you're still a follower. And you know how I know? Because you haven't really used what you've done to take you to higher levels of integration. Because when I ask questions, you know it all. Oh, yeah, I knew that when I was 15. There's nothing new here. This material's old stuff. I know. Well, tell me what you did with this knowledge. You're poor. Your life's in ruins. You're not moving forward. You're frustrated. Well, that means you haven't used it. You haven't evolved with this knowledge. Neothink is showing you how to evolve. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're showing you how to evolve from that primitive bicameral follow mode to your own internal integrated leadership mode. And that's the first key. And then we'll talk about all the components that go with it. Self-leadership, Friday Night Essence, 15-second miracles, yada, yada. We got a lot of material we can talk about. Now, that's step one. What's step two? Let's dig into that. Mark says he teaches how to leap past that widespread limitation into integrated thinking and then neo-thinking, in which the mind brings together and integrates knowledge piece by piece. Okay. What does that mean? Integration means you're going to take one percept. Percept means one idea. So make a note if you're not sure what a percept is. That's what it is, one idea. And you're going to put it into multiple ideas, which means multiple ideas equals concepts. So you got one idea into multiple ideas. Mark's explaining that we are moving into integrated conceptual thinking. We learn in neothink to think in pictures. No more thinking in words, which we've been doing before neothink in most cases. And you're going to think in pictures, picture puzzles, puzzle pieces, connecting the puzzle pieces by snapping together common denominators and ideas, putting them together into a conceptual puzzle, really is what it is. Multiple ideas and thoughts connecting together. Now, as you're working through that, you're now thinking. You see, Mark explains to us that we were taught to memorize in the school systems. We've never been taught to think through a process, to look at it to a conclusion, to look through the processes of reaching it, which are the puzzle pieces, and then connecting them, and then connecting it into a puzzle picture. Once you start thinking of things in a puzzle picture, you're going to be energized, excited, motivated to create all of the pieces to connect to it. If you're just thinking of words, it's dead. It's nothing. It's like the living dead. There's nothing there. The pictures and the colors and the mindset with all this in your head is going to help you be motivated to want to move forward. And I can tell you that from experience. So you're now going to be thinking, you've gone from that bicameral into a conscious mentality. Now you're going from a conscious mentality into an integrated mentality. Once you get into integrated, you're moving towards creating pictures, picture puzzles, puzzle pieces. So create that flow chart. Bicameral, the mammal world, evolving into consciousness. You're in charge of your life. You're no longer following or being guided. You are guiding yourself. Moving into thinking in pictures, thinking versus memorizing, thinking in colors, using your mind to develop puzzle pieces, picture puzzles, snapping together the pieces to make a puzzle picture, moving from a one idea concept to a multiple idea, which is percepts to concepts, and having common denominators. So that's your first part of the lesson. Now, in this particular section, Mark lets us know that we look at the world differently. Many of you who have been around NeoThink as long as I have, which is 11 years, remembers a website that Mark had around 2007, 2008, in which, when you opened it, he came up and said, I look at the world differently than others, because I look at it in pictures, and I look at it in creativity. I'm a creative person. And that was his intro. And so in this particular area, which says work on self-improvement, he tries to tell us that when we start thinking in pictures and all, we are creating. We are value creators. And with that thought of creating, he says to us, and please write this note to yourself, and I'll do it slowly, the constant theme of self-improvement is, or in writings of self-improvement, you can say self-improvement because we're talking on self-improvement. Here it is. Number one, and we'll dig into each one, so don't worry, we're going to get it together. Teach ordinary people who are stuck and stagnating in the following mode how to shift into integrated modes to create values. All right, I'm going to say that instead of reading it, I'm going to say it what it means. When we're getting into the self-improvement mode, the first step is, after everything I've just given you, and hopefully you wrote that flow chart I gave you, you're going to teach you how to move into that integrated mode and get out of the stagnated rut, routine rut, follower mode to an integrated value creation mode. That's the step. Now, these are secrets, everybody, that you need to learn. You know, every book has a secret. Now, I just want to clarify something for you. Every book has secrets in it, and here's a set of secrets right now. So you're moving from that stagnated, routine rut, almost dead mode, into an integrated value creation mode. That's number one in self-improvement. Got that? Nice and easy. Makes sense. Absorb it. Number two, it goes from that area, man, and this is what he actually wrote in his, he did this video he did when he said, I look at the world differently. You and I are not made to stagnate. Why do you think there's so many deaths? Why do you think there's so much death in the world? People stagnate. They don't think. They don't use their mentalities. They just wither away through routine ruts and die. So Mark wants to remind us, man is not made for stagnation, and we slowly die from stagnating modes. So we're not made for stagnation. We slowly die through stagnation modes. With that in mind, we need to know that we are made for creation. Big word, big letters. Man is made for creating. Our minds are meant to be creative-driven minds. Our minds are meant to look in pictures, picture puzzles, puzzle pieces, snapping together, common denominators. Got it? That's the key. And this is something we all have to start to exercise and eliminate stagnation. The creative-driven life is a life that we were born for. So let's dig into that for a minute. Creative-driven life, what does that mean? Well, I have my F&E. I'm a life coach. That's my F&E. That's why I'm here. I'm here to teach people how to use this material. Well, wait a minute. Hold it. That's not the first thing I'm here for. I'm here to dig into my creative-driven mind. And that's what we all have to do. As many of you know, I've talked about how I've learned through my integrations and readings that I always thought Friday Night Essence was number one I realized it's actually self-leadership. You do not respect and understand your Friday night essence unless you're in a self-leader mode, which I've already pretty much talked about. When we got away from bicameral, we're into the self-leader mode. However, that's number one. Now I'm saying with Friday night essence, we have to be in tune with our brains, our minds, our creative-driven mentality. So you're in your notes, and this is just additional of my own findings that I'm giving you from other readings, that first is self-leadership program, which you can find in the Neo Think 1 book, which is Inside Secrets. Then it goes to becoming the person you're meant to be, along with your creative-driven mentality. You see, I'm a life coach, but I've got to be creative. I got to think it through. You'll notice I'm here mentoring to you. I'll read certain areas of the book, but then I put the book away and I talk to you about it and what it means and how do you use it and develop it. Or I just connect 2 or 3 different programs and I don't even read to you. I just connect them. That's creative-driven mentality. I'm not here and stagnating by just reading, okay, sentence 1, sentence 2, and I'll bore you to death. It's not what I do. I'm creating a program for you, a process. Your flow chart tonight is being created through each one of these important integrations. And your job is to look at them, study them, engulf them into your own mentality, and then use them. These are steps that Mark has realized has to be used, and that's what we're learning. That's why we're here. We're trying to understand how we grow and develop, and what's the last word? Evolve. Don't forget evolve. Always evolving. Forward, not backwards. The other factor. All right, now let's dig deeper and see what else we're saying here. We got the creativity mode. Our creative-driven life is the life that we're here for. You must do the following. In order to do this, leave behind the following mode. Number 1, in order to get this creative-driven mode, you must get rid of the following mode. Number 2, you must evolve into the integrating mode. And the integrating mode is the neo-think mentality, which is known as the new mentality, which means neo-think means new thinking. So there you go. That's the new thinking. You see? So if you put this down, you now know what the definition of new thinking is. Moving away from that follower mentality and evolving into integrating mentality, into new mentality, which is neo-think. And what's the definition of neo-think? New mentality or new thinking. So what do we learn? We learn to eliminate following religious and government and corporations and become the self-leader, integrating knowledge and building puzzle pictures to create values, which equals the root to its wealth and happiness. There you go. So let me say it again. You're going to use the neo-think mentality, which is the new thinking. No longer are you going to follow the instructions of anyone in government, religion, or corporation world. You will move from an ordinary person to a self-leader. You will be into integrating knowledge, and you will take that integration by using your creator-driven mentality, which means you're thinking in pictures, picture puzzles, puzzle pieces, and creating puzzles to create values to the world. In result, what do you have? You have a world of happiness, eternal happiness, and prosperity. And there's the formula. There's the formula. Charlie, any comments on that? That's a very powerful section that I wanted to spend time on.
You just said, excuse me, that's the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you shake it up, and you have this recipe. That's what it is. That's why I always...
Let me share my opinion about what Steve was teaching there.
Step by step.
Everyone has to use their own judgments. With anything I share on Facebook or anything I share on YouTube, you have to make your own decisions. You have to make your own judgments as to what you're listening to. Agree or disagree. Doesn't make no difference. You may not agree with it, what they're talking about. You may not understand what they're talking about. Well, one, you probably don't even have any of the books, so I understand if you don't understand what they're talking about. And some of the words that they use, some of the terminologies they use, it can be very hard to understand unless you are inclined to some of the neo-tech terminology or neo-think terminology. So anything they say, you have to go with what you feel is the right way to go. And you do not have to agree with anything that neo-think or neo-tech says. Okay, so that's Big V's opinion, and I'm putting it out there. So that's Charlie Moore talking, and we'll sit here and listen to him ramble his mouth as always. It is what it is. So I'll take you back to the call, and we'll see what else they're going to talk about. All right? Enjoy, guys.
Industrial park. It's a really nice industrial park, but over the years with Obama, a lot of the business in there shut down. So all these buildings ended up empty, a lot of them. In fact, that's where the Philadelphia Flyers have their training camp, and it's right down the street from me. Now it's all filled again, just about, and it's all medical. All hospitals have built branches there. So when you look at the medical field here, it's all about money. They're making so much money. Their hospitals are buying other hospitals, and their network gets bigger and bigger, and then this one buys that one, and they have all these other offices outlined out of the cities all over the place. And yet, our insurance keeps going up and up and up, our health insurance, and now we're not even living as long as we were. America is one of the few countries where our actual life expenses is actually going down. It's a mentality that they have. Of course, there's money in medicine. Our mentality is we have to listen to the doctors because they know best, and then we take these bad drugs and bad food, and then we die. But imagine how quick it would all turn around if people got a different mentality to live forever. To live for a long, 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 long. It's just about mentality. These hospitals would turn around and do everything that they could then to make us live longer because now they see the money, because it affects everyone. But we don't have that mentality yet. If you haven't hit the heights here that you want to hit with NeoThink, your mentality is not where it should be. So how do you change that? Well, you do exactly what Steve just said. You take each step. And after this course, you just write it down. Go into the books. It doesn't take long. You just write each step, what you have to do. Now, to me, there's a couple of key ones. Thinking in pictures. If you're not thinking in pictures, you will never get there. Never. Every thought that you have should be in pictures. And it takes time to get there. You got to start concentrating on that. Don't just think in thoughts. Think in pictures. Child of the past. You must get in touch with your child of the past. There's no doubt, no way can you go anywhere without that. For many, many different reasons, which I don't have the time to get into all of those reasons why that's so important, but just start connecting with your child of the past. Believe in yourself. That this is what do you want out of life? Why did you come here? We have to ask that question forever. Why are you spending all the money on these books, but you haven't moved anywhere? Probably because you were lazy, which is normal because everybody out here is lazy. But you got to start to do the basics and say, you know what, my life is worth it. I really wanted, I came here for whatever reason, and I really want to achieve that. But then read these books and start doing it. That's your mentality now. Instead of just reading, instead of getting on these calls and just listening, and then after the call, you go back and you watch TV or you do something else, why don't you sit down, because you should be taking notes for one thing, and then sit, Again, it's a mentality. Before you get on these calls, you should sit there and say, why am I going to spend the next hour or two listening to Steve and Charlie? What's in it for me? Am I teachable right now? You should mentally prepare. Have that mentality to listen, to be teachable. Take your notes during the call. Ask yourself, what are you looking for out of tonight's call? And write that down. I'm looking to gain knowledge on whatever. All right? Now, at the end of the call, when it's all done and you hang up, then sit there and write notes afterwards. What did you get out of the call tonight? Well, I got about percepts and concepts and to evolve. That's key points there. Integrated knowledge, creative thoughts, the mentality, all those key words, and you write all that down. Wow, I got a lot out of this call tonight. That's how you have to approach these calls. That's how you have to approach when you read the books, the same mentality. Why am I going to read this book for the next hour or whatever? What am I looking to get? And take notes and outline the books, and then after you're done reading, what did I just learn? That's the discipline that you need. That's going to get you further up the ladder. You keep doing that. Now it's not a chore anymore. You just do it. It's just automatic because now you're starting to feel the difference. You're starting to think better. You're starting to see things in pictures. You're feeling better. You're learning a lot more. You're moving forward. How many people do you know in your personal life are moving forward every day or try to move forward every day? They're all stuck. They're in stagnation. And a lot of people in this society are in the same spot. We have to stop being stagnant. You do these things every day, and they're basic, simple. It's not that you have to be a rocket scientist to understand this. It's just basic, simple steps that you do every day, and you will never be stagnant again in your life. So imagine where you'll be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, if you keep that practice up. That's what it does. Steve's been here 11. I've been here 10. I've been doing over 50, both of us have done over 1,500 phone calls on here, all right, just on the calls. You think that we could get stagnant on these calls once in a while? And I don't think we really ever have, because we try and do these different every time that we cover the same material, because we cover these books for forever, it seems like. But we have, so it made us have a mentality of, let's throw something a little different. Let's do it on a different angle. Let's put two books together and connect some of those pieces. It's creative thinking. And that's the mentality that we've had, and that's why we do so many calls. It's just about mentality. And with that, Steve, I'll stop and pass it back to you.
Yeah, I'm passing it back to you, though, Charlie. Hold on. I like that you brought up creative mentality again, and you brought up the thinking in pictures. Everybody, Charlie had mentioned about taking notes. I hope you all took, and I did it very thoroughly, the flow chart I gave you. That is going to be a key from the bicameral mentality right through creating wealth and happiness. All those steps. But one of the main ones is that Mark said, I look at life differently. You do also. You're not just Mark Hamilton. You do. You came to NeoThink because you're a seeker. You're a searcher. You already are looking at life differently. I did too. I got to tell you, I'm the only one in my family during the 80s who had tons of the CD programs. I would be listening to CDs constantly. Whenever I was traveling in my car, I had the CDs going. So nobody else did it but me. My ex-wife wasn't interested. My kids weren't into it. My mother, I was the odd man out. But I'll tell you something. I had quite a few. And I would listen every day because I had to travel. I had things to do. I had to go to meetings and through the car. Those CDs were on. Not the radio, not the news. And that's back in the 80s. I was seeking. I was searching then. I looked at life differently then. Okay? When anybody would give me a gift, I said, get me a Brian Tracy set of CDs. Get me some other CDs. Zig Ziglar's, any of those. I wanted them. Dennis Whaley. I loved his work. Because I looked at life differently from the very beginning. I bet a lot of you have the same background that I did. Because you looked at life differently. Nobody did what you did. Cash in on that. Understand that you are in the mindset with Mark Hamilton. We get that. We get that you're improving, you're developing, you're learning. because you want to be better. You want to grow. You want to evolve. You don't want to stagnate. So start there. Then start looking at bicameral. Then start looking at how you're going to train your mind. Then you start getting into creative-driven mentality, and you move into the processes. You know, Charlie, you brought up a very important point, which is our creativity, and I want to elaborate on that for a minute.
Sure.
Every one of us has a creative-driven mentality. We have something there. Like, I'm a painter. People are poetry. People are just drawers. People are the way they just look at the world. That's creativity. You all have it. We all do. We don't cash in on it. We don't. You know what I think, Charlie, is that we don't think about it. We don't look at it. Mark makes us look at it. Mark makes us aware of what is maybe automatic to us. And we have to absorb it. You see, everybody? Mark makes us aware. It's like almost sudden you get water in your face and you're like, whoa, what happened? I'm wide awake. And you're creative. You look at life creatively. And that's what you're involved in. And Charlie was talking about that. Go ahead.
Yeah. We are the oddballs of the oddballs on this call, okay? We are the ones who always looked at life a little different. Maybe some of it was not all that much different than like the regular people out there. Some of us were more different. You have to embrace yourself. You have to embrace that individuality that you have. And you have to embrace that you look at the world differently. It's okay. We all should be looking at the world differently, but we're not. Why would you want to just look at it the way everybody else looks at it? Look where it got us. This is like the Fruit Loop civilization out there today. Nothing makes sense, and they're all buying it. So, I think that was one thing that I did at a very young age. I knew I was different early, mainly because I stuttered, and nobody could answer questions that I asked. And so I always thought that I am thinking different. I mean, I wasn't knowing it as well as I do now, but it's just, and I embraced it and said, this is how I have to go through life. I stuttered, but nobody ever said anything about it. Nobody ever took me to anybody. So that was my problem, and I worked on it, like anything else you have to do. It wasn't easy, but I didn't want to be embarrassed anymore about it. And it has stopped me at times in my life, but I embraced who I was. And I didn't like a lot of it. I didn't know how to fix it. Now I know how to fix it. Embrace neothink, embrace yourself, and put it together. This is your journey. You have a chance now to finally be who and what you are. And if you don't take advantage of that, man, I tell you, it's a shame. And it's sad. Because it's all right here. All you got to do is read it and do it. That's it, Steve.
That is very good, Charlie. Read it, but do it. I know it doesn't sound that easy. That's why we have each other. We talk, we communicate, we get on these calls, we ask questions of each other. That's the key. You cannot be successful in neothink if you are in the shadows. So we have new members on. Don't be in the shadows. Get to know each other. If you need to find a clubhouse, here's your phone number to find your local clubhouse. Here it is. I'll give it to you right now. 314-448-1462.
Sorry. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that they said about communicating with members. I wouldn't communicate with any of the members in the society, because these people, I just disagree with that part that you heard Steve Fagan talk about. I disagree with the reach out program. Half of the members don't even do the reach out program. They're just on it just to be on it. So that's my opinion about that.
It really is a key point of our journey through neothink to be talking to other members. So that's why I have this reach out program. So if you want to get involved with that.
All right. So I'm not going to advertise that either. The reach out program. That's a load of crap. I'm sorry, you guys. I think the reach out program is a load of crap. I don't like it. I'm not even part of it, so I'll put it out there for the world to hear because the world's going to hear it. Because on my program on Wednesday mornings or Wednesday night, one of my programs, they're going to hear this video. So the reach out program is a load of crap. All right, back to the call.
Just call people in your state. You can call people anywhere in the country. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. There's over 500 names on that list. So that's the reach out program. So give me a call over the weekend, and I'll get you for Monday's mailing out.
Yeah, do an Insta-Act on that. Don't wait on it so you can get on Monday. Get a hold of Charlie this weekend. Okay, at this point, I want to give you the playback info. Many of you will want to hear the recording. You didn't get everything. You'll want to go back and listen to the recording. Here's the recording.
All right, so back to this because the call's almost over and halfway over. It's a load of crap. All right. All right, we're gonna go back to the call. They do all this nonsense. I mean, I think it's just to take up time. So that's my opinion. Parts of what they're talking about, I don't even agree with myself. So everyone here, Big V doesn't agree with everything that they're talking about. Reach out program, talking to other members, that's a load of crap in my view. I wouldn't talk to any of them. That's just my opinion. All right, here we go.
I can't stress enough, and Charlie brought it up also, we always seem to be doing as a common denominator, and that's the child of the past. So I need you to go to the manuscript, and I need you to go to the chapter part 5, Mark's father. You'll have to go to the index if you have to, and it says number 11, my father, Neotech Abridged. When you go into number 11, you're going to go to, it says Neotech Abridged, you're going to go to page 7 of that section. And it's the child of the past. And I want to read that and then talk to you about how you're going to use the child of the past as your gateway to understand everything I just gave you tonight and that Charlie talked about. We have learned, the more we've integrated, that we cannot ignore our child of the past. Because you see, our child of the past is our Zon. And our Zon is going to connect us, I believe, is going to be the piece that's going to connect us to all of this new thinking. Because our Zon already knew all this. If you believe in that and you understand it, you will have a better connection. So I want to connect to the bridge that's going to get me to really evaluate and build this new thinking. And by connecting to my child of the past, which is before I got all of this AC garbage, my child of the past is literally going to take my hand and walk me through this. It's going to take me, and we're going to walk across the bridge. So if you have that vision, here's my value. Here's my vision. I see me at 4 years old. I have pictures of me. I have it all. So I know exactly the haircut I had, the kind of sneakers I wore, those Keds things, the kind of my form of my body and all that. And I see my child of the past is walking me across a bridge. I'm holding my child of the past hand. And it's explaining to me the process of what I need to learn. Now, if you believe that, you'll have a better understanding of grabbing all this new information by connecting to your child. Your Zon, the child of the past. Remember, your child of the past is there right now. It's inside you right now. So what does the child of the past say? And this is Neotech Advantage number 2. The child of the past exists in every adult, Dr. Wallace says. Lost within faded memories, that child keeps searching for the life of adventure, discovery, value, and happiness. That's crucial. Adventure, discover, value, happiness. Now remember, that child of the past is only 4 or 5 years old. That child of the past and I said this on another call, that child of the past has never gone to grade school, has never gone to high school, doesn't go through puberty, hasn't had a marriage or divorce or children or death. Our child of the past, our parents are still alive. Child of the past has no idea that my parents are dead. You know, that child of the past parents are deceased. My child of the past doesn't know his brother was killed. My child of the past is still living at that time and is clear to know what is in place. And your child of the past is there also at that time, not where you are today. That's why you want to go back to that child of the past to gather the information of the purity of that child. You see, everybody, connect to your child of the past this weekend. Sit down, relax, think about it, get out pictures, create a portfolio, connect to your child of the past, because the information I gave you tonight will help you ease you as you're walking the bridge into your new thinking. Here's more. The Neotech Psyche Wisconsin